Hey there everyone, I'm going to tell you a story from this book, Peter and the Magic Shadow and Other Stories. I enjoy reading this book a lot. There are such funny stories in it. I'm going to tell you one story which is called Telltale. Do you know what's a telltale? A telltale is someone that is so called spreading the information. But in other people's opinion, he is just the harbinger of bad news and unpleasant giveaways. And so, here is the story. Here he comes again! Telltale! Shouted Gobo the Goblin. Hello, Telltale! That tongue of yours is gonna talk something nasty, isn't it? It's not Telltale, it's Roundy, said the little goblin. Roundy, as people called Telltale, was a goblin who liked to spread bad news everywhere, just like other Telltales. Not one piece of good information. He began to say, do you know that Mr. Stampabout has had a quarrel with her aunt and has called her Mistress Stick in the Mud? Gobo had already walked off in the advantage of dust that came. How rude, said Telltale. I'll just go over to Miss Listenhard and tell them. So, he told them every piece of bad news that happened. There was no stopping to him. Well, one thing stopped him, and that was when he told bad news to someone who should not have been told to. He heard that the Wizard of Ho was coming to town to meet his brother Mr. Kindly. So he found, as he went to meet everyone and passed the tale of how the Wizard of Ho had turned a dog into a shopping basket, abracadabra. But that was not true. Anyway, it didn't matter to Telltale, who was always waiting to cook up a good story. La 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 la. Well, who's this? In front, on a chariot, was standing a peculiar man. He had a funny green hat, long ears, and small but funny shoed legs. And then the man called out, wiggling his moustache all the while, hey, do you know where is Apple Farm Village? Apple Farm Village was the village where Telltale lived. So he said, I'll take you. So then he walked off and told all the bad tales about the Wizard of Ho all the way along, with the peculiar man just gasping, horrified. But that was when he announced at Mr. Kindly's house, I am the Wizard of Ho, and how dare you talk tales about me? And so he made a parrot and gave it to him. The parrot was a telltale bird, and as soon as it perched upon his shoulder, it said, you haven't washed your ears, dirty goblin. Frightened, he ran back to his house. And then the parrot said, my goodness, you haven't swept the floor? The goblin was very agitated and he gave a grab from the parrot, who jabbed him on the shoulder. Ow! Screamed the goblin. My, what a crybaby, said the parrot. And that was when the milkman knocked. And so he opened the door and said, good evening, I would like 1 pint of milk, please. And he was cut off by a rude voice of the parrot saying, do you know that Telltale doesn't sweep his floor and he doesn't clean the back of his ears and he's a crybaby? And Telltale just slammed the door and the milkman stood there astonished. Well, that means no 1 pint of milk. And he walked off. For the next days, life was really bad for Telltale. For example, when he met Mr. and Mistress Kind, he said, Do you know that the baker had a rat's tail in his bread? And before he could say, the parrot said, "Do you know that that Telltale took the wheelbarrow of Mr. Shoemaker and kept it in his shed that day?" And so he was so embarrassed, he began to run back to his house with the parrot screaming, "Do you know that he stole Mother Hoppy's daughter's apples and sweets?" Life went on like this until he finally quit telling tales. Well, let's forget that story. All that was one mighty year ago. And now, when someone from the village wanted to visit Telltale, they had finally remembered that he no longer said tales, and they decided to call him by his proper name, Roundy. "Oh, you mean Roundy, the nice fellow with the parrot?" "Well, we don't call him Telltale anymore. No bad tales, just a good parrot." And so he met him and he realized that he wasn't a telltale anymore. I hope you enjoyed this story. The Wizard of Ho was really a hope for the village by bringing that parrot onto Telltale's shoulder. And wherever he went telling tales, the parrot told tales too about the goblin. I hope you enjoyed the story. Thank you.